Today we hear a familiar story, parable if you will, a earthly story with a heavenly meaning that was related to us by Jesus. Once again, it's a familiar story, is the parable of the Good Samaritan. We're going to be reading from St. Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." A man asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" And that's a question we could ask too. Who is my neighbor? Jesus then goes on and tells this familiar story, the story of the Good Samaritan. It is the story of a man who was traveling this road. It's a sort of famous road between Jericho and Jerusalem. There's a huge elevation difference. You go into some rugged terrain. It was a place where robbers would hang out. There was this man, and he was traveling along that road, and he was overtaken by robbers. He was attacked. He was left half dead there at the side of the road. He was a terrible sight. He was in a predicament. He was going to die if nobody gave him any help. And then help comes. Well, at least he may think it's help. There is first a priest, one of the workers in the temple, no doubt, coming perhaps back from his duty there in the temple in Jerusalem. And now he sees this man by the side of the road, and he doesn't have the time, he doesn't have the care, he doesn't have the love. The text says he walks by on the other side. He leaves the man where he was. And then there's a Levite, one of the workers in the temple. He too had given his duty probably in the temple, and now he's making his way back home. He sees the condition of this man. He sees the situation. He's in a hurry to get home to his family. He's in a hurry because he has to do things at home, whatever the case is. And he walks by on the other side. And then there is another person who comes by, a Samaritan, we are told. You know, to us it's a little bit always needing explanation. Who is a Samaritan? North of Jerusalem, there was this area of Samaria, and these were people who had some Jewish blood, but it's intermingled with all sorts of other people that were brought to that place after the destruction of the northern kingdom in 722 BC. And at the time of Jesus especially, Jews hated Samaritans, and Samaritans hated Jews. They had some Jewish blood, these Samaritans. They had a little bit of the old religion, but they had intertwined it with who knows what other heresies. And there was not a good relationship between the two. But a Samaritan comes by on this road, and he sees that this man needs help, obviously. He's half beaten to death, and the man takes care of him. He starts to clean up his wounds. He pours on some wine and oil. He wraps the wounds with bandages. He puts the person onto his donkey, and he brings them to an inn in the area. He gives the man, in essence, enough money for a couple months' lodging. And he says to the owner of the inn, hey, if anything more is needed, you know me, I often travel on this road, I'll come back and pay you whatever is needed. But here is enough money for a couple months' lodging. And now the question, who was the neighbor to this man? Well, that's pretty obvious, I would think. It was the Samaritan. In our country, we have Good Samaritan laws. In essence, that law means it can vary from state to state, but if you come across somebody who is hurting, if you come across an accident scene, if you do something to try to help people, that's encouraged. And we call them Good Samaritan laws. And of course, if something doesn't go right, if you give CPR and maybe the person dies, if you bandage up the wounds and you don't do something correctly, or something gets infected and somebody wants to sue you, we have laws that protect you, because we are hoping that when we are hurting, somebody will seek to take care of us. Who is my neighbor? Well, it used to be, I think, when I grew up, it was the person who lived next to you, but more often today, it's the person that you interact with at the office, interact with when you're on the phone, interact with in our families. And what should I do? Well, obviously, help them, hug them, seek to do everything you can for them today in your situation. The Lord's going to bring people into your path, and they are people who need an ear. We need to have an ear for them and for their worries, for their concerns. We want to help them. We want to hug them. We want to do our best to bring help to their situation. Who is my neighbor? The Lord is always seeking for us to be kind and considerate, to especially show love, care, and concern to those who are closest to us. Who is the greatest example of love? Well, obviously, the person who is relating the story of the Good Samaritan, Jesus. He loved you enough, and he loved me enough to die for me on the cross, to die for you. What a great example. No greater example of love in this world.